I think we're good on the microphone. If this video doesn't come out good sound quality, I don't know what I'm gonna do. For the microphone piece, like the receiver part, I'm really hoping this works. How are you guys doing? It's been a while since I made a YouTube video. I tried to make the second part to this video. I tried to use the microphone. It just didn't work. So I had to put off videos completely until I got this new adapter. Even though I've already filmed this video, I really wanted to upload it, so we are gonna film it again. I've got my little notebook here and let's just get started. Okay, so if you guys haven't already, make sure to go check out the pros and cons of a short-term rental. I will link it up here. This video is going to be long-term versus short-term rental, the pros and cons to both. We're going to start out strong with short-term rentals. If you go watch the actual video on the pros and cons of short-term rentals specifically, you might get some more information. So the pros are that it's a good source of income, especially just depending on where you have your short-term rental. Where I live, it's a small ski town, very seasonal, but in the summer and the winter time, you can do very good with an Airbnb. You can charge top dollar during those seasonal months as well, just because everybody and their mom really wants to be in a short-term rental. They want to bring their family here. They don't want to just do a hotel room, that kind of thing. There's many tax breaks and deductions, so you can furnish the entire house and all of that stuff is tax deductible, including your electricity, trash bill, propane, literally everything. There are definitely more tax breaks in a short-term rental than a long-term. There's flexibility for the host. So let's say you live out of state, but you have an Airbnb in Colorado. You come up from Florida because you want to go skiing with your family. You can block out the time that you're going to be there and nobody can book it, and you don't have to pay for it because it's still your house. It will potentially bring in more cash than a long-term rental because, like I said, you can charge top dollar during the seasonal months. And over time, that will probably add up to be more than a long-term rental, just because long-term, it's a fixed rate. There's going to be less wear and tear on the property because they're not going to be staying there for like a year. However, you are still having strangers in your house, so it's just kind of a risk you take. Like, you gotta make sure you set money aside for damages. I kind of touched on a few of these already, but the seasonal market, at least where I'm at in Colorado, you can really only charge top dollar during the summer and winter months. Spring and fall, people aren't going to be here as much. It might be different in places like Florida, I just don't know. You're going to have strangers in your house. You can't do a credit check or anything before they rent your property for a few days, so that's something to think about. It needs cleaned after every visit. So with a long-term rental, you'll just go in and you'll do like a deep clean right before you get new tenants, and then it's their responsibility to keep it clean and up to your standards. However, with an Airbnb or a VRBO, somebody's going to be charging you to clean that house to get it ready for the next occupant. Regular maintenance is required, so you've always got to make sure that like the heat's running and stuff like that. I mean, obviously if you were a landlord and you had a long-term rental, these things would also be important, but that's a con. The owner has to pay for utilities, so yes, the amount you charge per night can go into account for your monthly bills, but you are still gonna have to pay that. In a long-term rental, you can have your tenants pay the utilities. There's upfront costs to fully furnish the property, but like I said, all of those are tax breaks. It's fluctuating income. You're not always gonna be making the same amount every month. On the seasonal part again, you know, you might only rent out your house once a month during November. It takes more effort to run a short-term rental. You're going to be having to constantly market it, whereas if you had a long-term rental, you could market it once a year whenever the past lease expires and you're looking for a new tenant. I would say those are all the pros and cons of short-term rentals, but again, go check out my video on short-term. So now the pros and cons of long-term rentals. The pros are that they are in high demand. There is always somebody looking for a place to live, especially since there's so many people out there who are scared to purchase a property on their own. They would much rather just pay somebody else's mortgage and rent from somebody else. It's consistent monthly income, so you're always going to be getting that $900 or $1,200 plus utilities or a flat fee, whatever it is, you can always depend on that. Whereas with a short-term rental, it fluctuates and you never know how much you're actually going to make in a month. It's reduced risk, and I would say this to an extent because you can do a credit check on them to make sure they are fully capable of paying their bills and all that stuff, but they can really trash your property. Like, my parents have had long-term rentals for a long time, and they've had people completely trash their house and move out. So yes, they didn't get their security deposit back, but it's very likely that can happen to you. So you have to be prepared for that. Less management is required, so depending how much you want to check in on your property and stuff, you can go in like once a month and just say, hey, I'm doing a clean check to just make sure like you're taking care of my house. You really only have to market it once a year, or maybe not even that much if your current tenants decide to keep renting from you. The tenant will pay the utilities. You can set it up as a flat rate with like utilities included, or you can be like, this is the rent, but on top of that you also have to pay utilities. It's completely up to you because you're the homeowner and you're renting your house to them. Tenants provide their own furnishings, so you don't have to worry about making it look all cute like an Airbnb. Like, you can literally just leave it empty. They can come in, envision the space for themselves, and you can go from there. Now we're getting into the cons. It is a fixed rate. Potentially you can make more money annually with a short-term rental. You're only going to be making the same amount every year with a short-term rental. You can't increase rent without a contract. They might decide to terminate their lease or whatever. Just think about that. You could probably make more with a short-term rental, but long-term rentals are really in high demand. Usually there are higher turnover costs, so like I touched on with my parents, having long-term rentals in the past, you know, the people went in, completely trashed the house, the carpet needed to be ripped out, cabinets needed to be repainted because they were just dirty, broken toilet bowls and stuff like that. So it could be a really high turnover cost, especially if you had dirty tenants. So it's just a risk factor. I mean, with all investments, you're gonna have risk. So it's really just what you are willing to risk. Another con is that you're locked into this long-term contract unless they aren't paying their rent. Then you can evict them. I forget how many days it is in Colorado. You have to give notice for eviction. You are technically locked into a long-term contract with them. Like, if they are dirty tenants, like you agreed to rent this place to them for a year, they might not be keeping it as clean as you'd like, but if they're paying their bills, there's really not much you can do about it except keep their security deposit when they leave. You might be asking yourself, which is better? If you went to watch that other video on short-term rentals and then you came to this one, or if you watched this one first and you're going to that one second, I would just say it's really up to you. I already said that with investments, you're gonna have to consider the different risk factors. And so this video is just kind of to give you a better understanding of both. I am in real estate. If you didn't know, I'm a Colorado realtor. No, I am not a short-term rental owner, but I do have a house that I'm going to be converting into a long-term rental shortly. I would just say this is what I know, and you can take from these videos what you will. I hope that you guys really liked this video. Don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to see more of my real estate related content, be sure to follow me at realestatebabe.co on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. If you guys have any questions about short-term or long-term rentals that I didn't answer, be sure to comment them down below. I hope that you have a great, beautiful day, and I will see you guys in my next video.